Okay, so if I select my cube here and moving down the line in the properties panel, if we select the object tab, this gives us information such as transform, which here we can control the location of the object, the rotation, and the scale of individual axes. Here is a good place for you to, if you want to enter in specific data about, like, say you only want an object to be rotated 90 degrees from some point or something, or you're animating and you want to animate with very specific values, you can do it from here under the Object tab for any object you have highlighted. You can also get that same transform data as well. If we hit T and bring up our properties shelf over here, if you click under transform, you can control that data there as well. Delta transform, which is I think related to like global transforming of things, and then transform locks, much in the same way. Like down here in our outliner, we have this cube selected, and if I turn the restrict selection and the viewport off, then I can no longer select the cube at all. So likewise, what the transform locks do, if say I lock the Z of location and I hit G to grab this cube, that means no matter where I move this cube here, it's never going to move up and down on the Z axis here because I have this locked. Likewise, I can restrict rotation to where it only rotates around Z. So if I hit R, now it will only rotate around Z. I can also restrict that by holding the middle mouse and just choosing an axis that I want the object to rotate around. You can rotate or translate or move an object to, like, say I wanted to move this cube 90 degrees, I could hit R and then enter in 90 manually and hit enter, and then that will rotate exactly 90 degrees, which you can't really tell so much because I already distorted its rotation so much. But I'll go ahead and delete that cube, press Shift A, bring up my add menu, and add another cube here. We have a tab for relations, which this is relative to rendering and layers and stuff. Groups, say you may want to, say I'll duplicate this, duplicate that, and I'll scale that one down. Say I want something to happen to all of these objects, but I don't want to join them. If I hit J, I can join them and they become one object, but I may not want to do that, but I still want them to be grouped. You can add a group here. Click Control Z to undo that. And then display currently says textured on all of these because in the viewport shading we are on textured here. So this, under viewport shading, this controls pretty much scene-wide ways of which these items are viewed. So I could change this to wireframe. We see everything in wireframe. Or bounding box, we see only a box that bounds the basic reaches of that object. But if you wanted to, you can also change those settings for individual objects under the display here. So say I select this cube here, which happens to be named cube 0.001. And I only want it to display as a wireframe. Now it'll just be a wireframe. So that comes in handy when you're you may have a lot of different objects in the scene or using up a lot of resources, and you only want to know where some of them are or see that they're basically there, but you don't have to see them, their texture and everything else like that. Duplication, this controls information that will be duplicated when you duplicate objects. And next we have the constraints, and there's a ton of different options and things you can do here. Mostly the constraints are used a lot with cameras and tracking a camera. Like say you have a character running around in a field and you want the camera to automatically track them. Constraints do that, and also they're very much used for like character rigging and creating character motion and, like, you know, walking cycles with inverse kinematics and stuff. You can basically think of a constraint as doing the same thing, sometimes with some of these much more complex, but it's basically doing the same thing as when we're under the object. of adding those transform locks. It's constraining it, like when we locked the Z of the object and now it can't move up by Z. So that's kind of similar to constraints. The modifiers tab is a huge workhorse of most everything you'll be doing in Blender, especially in modeling and animating. And we're going to be going over that a little later. Here you have your object data tab, and this will change. The little icon in here will change depending on the type of item you have selected. So if I turn the visibility of my camera on in my outliner and I select the camera, you'll see that this changed to a camera icon and it has all these special specific things related to the camera, such as the lens, the camera presets, depth of field, focus, and stuff like that. And like if we were to select the Hemi, well, I have it to where it can't select, but if I turn that on and select it, then you'll see it changes to this little icon here. So that's your object data.